If your recoil looks like this in Warzone, you're probably not using the right loadout. Well, in today's video, we're going to crack down on two weapons. That's right, a primary as well as a secondary that's going to fit almost everybody's play style, but it's more geared towards passive players. Hey, come here real quick, bro. Take you upstairs real quick, you know. Take you upstairs real quick, you know what I'm saying? Right here on the desk. Oh, on the desk, on the desk, on the desk. On the desk. Oh my god. I'm gonna... Oh, just kidding. See ya. Both of these weapons have extremely large mags, the lowest recoil in the game. Though the primary struggles with movement, but you're going to be engaging targets at long range, it's going to make up for it in the secondary with the best movement as well as the biggest mag, low recoil, and as well as staying off the map. This loadout is for you. Stay tuned. Let's dive in. The primary that we're talking about today is the XMG. This is an 8 attachment XMG, and I'll run you through all the attachments and explain why they're so successful. But this thing struggles with movement, so you're going to want to engage at long range, which is where this thing excels. So the first attachment that we're going to put on this thing is the Willis 3x optic. This thing has the lowest visual recoil when it comes to this particular weapon. The Jason Armor 82 is as well as a good one, but I like using this one for this particular XMG. The next thing you want to do is that we're not going to be able to stay off the minimap with this. We're going to use the compensator to help with the recoil, because this thing does have a lot of recoil. So just keep that in mind when you're engaging in gunfights, that you will not be off the minimap. The next thing, we're going to use the reinforced barrel, which is going to maximize bullet velocity as well as damage range. You need to help out with the recoil just a little bit more. So we're going to need to use the vertical foregrip, which is it's going to maximize handling that vertical recoil. The next thing we want to do is that we don't need a magazine on this thing because it comes with 100 rounds, which is more than enough. The only thing that you're going to struggle with is reloading this particular weapon, because it does take a little bit of time. But we have a secondary that's going to help you out with that, to help with engaging gunfights and helping you mitigate that a little bit. But the next thing we want to use is the quick draw rear grip. This thing is going to help with ADS, because you're going to need a little assistance with ADS with how big this thing is. The next attachment is the buffer weight stock. This was introduced with Season 1 of Call of Duty Warzone with the Black Ops 6 integration to the XM4 as well as the XMG, and it's going to maximize your recoil, vertical and horizontal, to help you manage it even more, which is going to make this thing literally, it's better than the XM4 when it comes to managing recoil and as well as the damage range. This thing excels in every category, but like I said, the mobility struggles a little bit, but that's where we're going to introduce the secondary that's going to help you with that. And the last thing we're going to use is the fire mod, which is the overpress rounds. We want to maximize bullet velocity. We want to maximize damage range. We've already compensated for the recoil, horizontal and vertical, so using this in particular is going to be able to extend those gunfights even further. The particular secondary that we're using is the Jackal, and this thing's going to have a 50 round mag on it, and we're going to build this thing out for mobility, because what's going to happen with the primary, the XMG, is that you're not going to be able to engage fights close up with it or even mid-range with it. It's primarily going to be used for long range, as you're going to see in this video. So you're going to need something that's going to be able to chow the mid-range and then obviously dominate the short range with movement. So we're going to max this thing out for movement speed, recoil control, and having a big mag as well as damage range. We're going to switch out the barrel here to use a barrel that isn't the typically one, it really isn't the one we're going to typically use when it comes to SMG, because we want to extend those gunfights even further. So again, the Jackal build, we're going to start out with a suppressor, because I want to stay off the mini map. So if I'm engaged in short range and medium range, I'm going to need something that's going to keep me off the mini map, so I can down a person, get out of that gunfight, replay, put my ammo back together, and then reach out the gunfight. So I want to stay off the mini map as much as possible. The next we're going to use is the long barrel. We're not using the reinforced barrel here. The main purpose for using the long barrel is to increase the damage range even further for this particular secondary, because like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to be able to engage gunfights with the XMG at medium range because the mobility on it is just not quick enough. So we're going to introduce the Jaguar as this movement build. The next thing we're going to use is the Ranger foregrip, the underbarrel. The reason we're using this is to increase that movement, right? We're pretty much, the last attachment that we're going to talk about is going to handle the recoil for this thing. So we need to be able to manage the increased mobility and maximizing that.
Get over there now.
Next thing we're going to use is the extended mag 2. This thing in particular, as it gives us a 50 round mag to where we can challenge 1 to 2 players and get a finish out of that gunfight, leave, and then reach out. Next thing we're going to use is the ergonomic grip. This thing is going to maximize mobility, sprint to fire. It does struggle with the ADS, but for the most part, it maximizes everything else. But we're going to put on something else here called the balance stock. That's going to help us out with what the ergonomic grip sacrifices in. The balance stock is what's going to make up that negative or net positive. So the last 2 attachments, laser. I know people aren't a big fan of this, but I like the target laser because it recenters every time when you go to ADS. So the center of your screen, how this works is that the target laser, when you go to ADS, it recenters to the center of your screen, which is like Warzone 1 guns and Modern Warfare 2019. All the guns did that without attachments, but for whatever reason they introduced this new mechanic and you have to put on an attachment. So we're not going to have an optic for this. The iron sights are clean enough, we're not going to need it. But the last attachment that we're going to talk about is the fire mods. The fire mods, we're going to use the recoil springs to help out with recoil. Like I said, 8 attachments, so you're going to need to buy this or get it in your first loadout and then buy your primary. But these are the 2 weapons that I think are best for passive players that aren't really engaging short range gunfights all the time or trying to child 1v1 situations. It's more so you're trying to third party or you're trying to pick people off from a distance. So these 2 are great for that. Stay tuned till the end because at the end we're going to have the recoil plot for both of these weapons as well as what it looks like in the shooting range with no aim. So stay tuned.